Hi, my name is Karen Holmes. I'm the director and founder of the World Peace Organization for the One World Government. I'm the principal of the organization. And earlier today, I posted a short video about purifying the legal system. In the meantime, since I put that online, I finished watching the impeachment trial, and I just got done counting the votes. It was 57 who voted to convict and 43 to not guilty. Donald Trump has been acquitted because they didn't meet. They were 10 short of the number of votes on this is a constitutional issue, so they had to have a 2/3 majority of the Senate who voted to convict, and they didn't get that much. So now what we have is a whole new, let's say, stage that we're going into in terms of what is going to happen with all of those 74 million Trump supporters who have been drawn into his plan, whatever that is. Okay, so I wanted to talk today, now in this video, about purifying the legal system too, and about the exit strategy for Iraq. This is our first government proposal has to do with a grand lie. If you recall, if you've been watching these videos, the power games they start out with oppression and tolerance. It's like a circle. It goes around and around. And each time it goes around, it plays the same power games. So it's like around the equator of a globe, it's divided into 7, and each of these power games, it starts out with intolerance, and that leads to lack of equality, leads to war. On the third time around, it starts out with oppression, and then it goes to the third time around, it's a war. So you start out with these power games. Now, I'm going to warn you that after the third time around, it doesn't go back to the beginning. That's when we become a failed state. So this act of tolerance, so the Iraq War was the first time around, then Barack Obama wasn't able to overcome the effects of that. The second time of what the Republicans did, George Bush did, and the third time around now is Donald Trump. So with this insurrection, we are one step away from becoming a failed state. Okay, according to this document. Okay, this is one of our power source inventions, 3 power source inventions. This is a light source invention. Light meaning the spiritual light that helps to create matter. Okay, anyway, that is something that we'll go into when we deal with spiritual things. Right now we're talking about the conflict and where we are as a country. Right now we are at the point where we've had all of these issues that Donald Trump has gone through. He's the end of his term in office, so we are at this point now where with acts of terrorism, domestic terrorism, and not having a voice, and that we are right at this point now where we are probably becoming a failed state. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about this issue about revenge and how it works and why it doesn't. And there are 2 power games. There are 5. We'll go into this in the Power series books, but I wanted to just talk about Donald Trump from the standpoint of the grand lie, the big lie. If you watched the impeachment process, you know that he was caught telling lies. The big lie was that the election was rigged. Okay, so they caught him in lies. There are two power games associated with revenge. There are two power games that governments play that are associated with revenge, and these are 7 deadly sins: the game of lust and the game of envy. Lust leads to slavery, according to this. Freedom and mass has to do with slavery. Actually, it's compassion and victimization, slavery, and then, but there's a little bit different idea here. Okay, that's the principle that it brings it back. But what happens then is the other one is envy, and that leads to genocides. Okay, so both of these are based on weaving an illusion. These are power grabs where they're not based on illusion, they're based on I'm more important than you are. I believe I can take what's yours, and I can believe I can deny you a voice. So this is, let's say, voter suppression right here. Now, the reason that Donald Trump has been telling lies, you can tell because the game of lust, Donald Trump was accused of sexual assault, sexual abuse, sexual assault, and that was one of the power games that other important men are accused of. That has to do with a game of lust where you are afraid, you fear lack of intimacy, you fear being hurt. So what you do is you push people away and you hold people to you, or you push them away and you hold people to you. Donald Trump has his in his marriages, he has his prenuptial agreements, and he pays porn stars. He pushes them away with $130,000 checks. So he's holding on to people and pushing them away, but he's weaving an illusion, and that's where this comes in. What he wants is, you can tell what he wants by he's getting revenge, and it's like, this is the point of revenge. This is revenge. And then what he wants is a combination of this and this. There isn't anybody here, so nobody's in agreement with him playing this power game. He thinks by getting revenge, he's going to get a combination of a voice and abundance. Greed and a voice, denying people a voice, and taking what is other people's abundance. He thinks he's going to get money, and he's going to get wealth, and he's going to get a voice. So what's he doing all the time? He's sitting and tweeting, and he's money. You can say that he's a perfect example of somebody who's playing the game of lust. The people who play the game of lust, they fear, like I said, being hurt, so they end up alone and unloved. There's also several health issues that they can end up with. So Donald Trump is going to run into some very serious problems pretty soon because of the games he's playing. On the other hand, George Bush, our first government proposal, has to do with the game of envy, and that was where he lacked capacity. That was George W. Bush. He had really put his father, George Herbert Walker Bush, on a pedestal, and what he wanted, he lacked capacity. He put people on a pedestal, and that allowed him to judge other people. But what he wanted was a combination of respect and abundance. This pentacle here lets you understand what games people are playing because of what they want, what they fear, what they lack, and what they want. Donald Trump believes he has capacity and respect. He says, I'm a wealthy man. My cat wants my attention down here. Excuse me a minute. So that's kind of where we are. Now, the thing of it is, when you play these games, the games are always, they're deadly sins. Somebody dies when you play the games. And it's usually the person who's playing the games. But in the case of this, these are 7 deadly sins, and they are associated with revenge. So we're looking at revenge. we're looking at these power games being played, and we're looking at the next step that is coming with Donald Trump. He's been acquitted. He's not going to give up. He's never going to give up. And next, the game that I believe he's going to deal with this Article 5 Amendment Convention, and that will allow him to become president again. If he doesn't run for president again in 4 years, he's going to possibly get his 5 terms in office by amending the Constitution with a runaway convention. So, 57 U.S. senators voted to convict him, and 43 considered him not guilty. And now what we have is the next step where we're becoming a failed state. No government. Because he's not going to take it over. He's just going to try it. It'll end up with him destroying it. Okay, excuse me a minute. So, the best thing we can do right now is to join the debate on the plan for the international government. Our organization is working to do. We have to amend the Constitution with an Article 5 convention. So, is he going to get it first, or are we going to be there first? That's the question. Now, the other thing is the 7 principles of equality, liberty, freedom, compassion, abundance, capacity, and tolerance. Those are the principles that create a sense of balance again. So when I wrote my letter to the Supreme Court, I told them about these principles and reintroduced them in there. So these are the principles of universal law. What you do to someone else is what's done to you. This is where we get our unalienable rights. Okay, so to be able to create the life we want without interference, to be treated fairly and equally, and to have a voice in our government. These are inalienable rights. When somebody tries to take them away from us, they lose them and we get ours. So we have to understand this is going to be a time of darkness in the United States, and it's going to be a time when we have to understand that we have our unalienable rights and nobody can take them away from us. Okay. Thank you. Like, share, and subscribe. Share. This is a very important time. It's going to be very difficult for a while.